All right, let's dive in. Some of you might be thinking, what's all this about sensitive people? While others are nodding, saying, oh yeah, that's me. There's a really interesting idea going around, and it centers around highly sensitive people. It's fascinating. The key takeaway is, you get overly aware and exhausted, but it surprisingly disappears. Just that title makes some people think, hey, that might be me, while others wonder, are there really people like that? But this is something everyone should understand. Because when those who aren't like that understand how much those are suffer, it becomes easier to live alongside them. You become less likely to hurt them. And for those who are like that, this helps them to feel a little more relaxed and to live a little easier. It's really interesting. Now, sensitive people, or HSPs as they're called. What is that? Well, an American psychologist named Elaine Aron identified this type of person and gave it the psychological label, highly sensitive person. Highly sensitive person. Highly means extremely or highly. Sensitive means, well, sensitive. And person means people. So, extremely sensitive people. People who are very sensitive. What kind of people? Let's find out. Let's see if you're a sensitive person or not. First, being around people is tiring. It's not that you don't have fun or that you don't want to be around people at all, but being around people is often tiring. You get tired easily. Or you're bothered by other people's sloppiness, like, why are they talking like that? Or, hold on, is it safe to put that glass there? It's right on the corner where people walk. It's going to fall. You're bothered. That lemon sour is definitely going to spill. You're bothered by other people's sloppiness. Another is, when there are people in a bad mood nearby, you feel bad. That person's definitely been in a bad mood since this morning. The way they're hitting the enter key, they're about to explode. Is it because I haven't met the deadline yet? Those types of things. So, how did you do? Do any of those apply to you? I think there are probably people who recognize some of it. Why? Because, isn't that just your personality? Just fix it. Develop some thick skin. Don't worry about it. That doesn't work. This isn't just a personality trait. HSP. This is a tendency in the brain's mechanism that affects 1 in 5 people. So, apparently, it's something you're born with. Interesting, right? But what's most groundbreaking about this concept? It's that when you hear about HSP, you might think, oh, that's a special condition. Is HSP some kind of syndrome? No, it's not. It's about acknowledging it and accepting it. The storyteller themselves suffered as a sensitive person. But if you understand that they're a sensitive person, then both sensitive and non-sensitive people can live more easily. So, what does this idea call non-sensitive people? What do you think? Non-sensitive, bold, or insensitive? In this case, non-sensitive people, that is 4 out of 5 people, are called non-sensitive people. That's also very kind, I think. If you tell someone, you're insensitive, shut up, you're insensitive, you've been putting that lemon sour on the corner of the table the whole time, and you're laughing, but it's been bothering me. It doesn't criticize them. Rather, it acknowledges that there are people who are born with a tendency to be sensitive and people who are born with a tendency to be non-sensitive. It's about accepting that that's the world we live in. So, there are other ideas related to HSP, but this particular one is getting a lot of attention and selling well because of its kind perspective. It's easy for both sensitive and non-sensitive people to accept. That's why it's so popular, I think. It's very kind. Furthermore, it explains what to do for people who can't just not worry about it or develop thick skin. This is the key point. You can take specific measures to avoid being swayed. It's not about mental strength or willpower. You can take concrete steps to prevent being tossed around by it all. If you can firmly incorporate these concrete measures into yourself, you can avoid being overwhelmed by those things. It's a kind and helpful idea. Let's take a look at some of the suggestions. Now, I'm a non-sensitive person. I'm not sensitive. If there's a strange person around, I don't get tired. I'm more concerned about being sloppy myself. If someone's in a bad mood, I'm more likely to get even more annoyed and say, "Hey, why are you in a bad mood?" I'm the type to say, "What's your problem?" So, I wanted to understand it better. That's why I changed the way I think. So, I might not fully understand sensitive people, but the storyteller has taught me a lot. I want to share what I've learned so that I don't hurt people like that. So, what are some of the steps? Specifically, it's about releasing the thought patterns that sensitive people tend to fall into. First, it's okay for sensitive people to refuse invitations or requests. Sensitive people apparently have a really hard time refusing. If someone says, "Do this for me," or "Do that for me," they're likely to say, "Okay, I understand. Well, I can probably do it." In other words, if it's not absolutely impossible, they tend to accept requests and invitations. But they think, "I'll be hated if I refuse. I'll seem inconsiderate. I can't say no." That's apparently how sensitive people feel. Switch that thinking. It's okay to refuse. Because, first, think about being in your nest. They tend to stay out of their nest and try to be good people. Sensitive people tend to put themselves in a shell and think they have to be smiling and be a good person in front of others. But the storyteller warns against this. If you're trying to be a good person and acting like a good person, you'll attract people who like that. In other words, you'll attract people who don't refuse requests or invitations. But if you refuse and stay in your nest, you'll attract people who like you, even if you refuse invitations and requests. In other words, it's important to be selective about your relationships. Your relationships will be appropriately replaced. I see. An invitation comes via line. Are you free on date? Are you free on date? You don't know what it's for, but since you're being asked, you have to answer. Yeah, I'm free, but what is it? You already said it. Yeah, I'm free, but what is it? It's a party, but can you come? Who's going to be there? You wonder if it's rude to ask who's going to be there. Who's going to be there? Even if there are people you don't like, you can't refuse because you already said you were free. Oh, I see. Sounds fun. You said it. You said it sounds fun, even though it's a party with people you don't like, and you already said you were free. And then the day comes. You have a stomachache, but you feel bad about cancelling, so you go. Sensitive people are miserable. So, you end up being invited because people know you'll come, even if they invite you at 9 p.m. the night before. That's terrible. But it's better to say, "Sorry, I can't," or "I'm free, but who's going to be there?" Oh, I see. Never mind, I can't. You can even say that much. Then, people who don't like that will leave, and people who still want to invite you will remain. You can replace them. It's easier that way. This is actually a new idea for sensitive people. To them, it's okay to refuse is shocking. They think, "Really? Is that true?" I, on the other hand, am the type to boldly refuse. Or rather, I sometimes just don't reply. I'm sorry for being non-sensitive, But sensitive people, there are ways to do things like me, so it's okay. Do your best. Next, it's okay to hate. Seriously? Even if you barely think, I hate that person, you think you absolutely can't say it? That's what sensitive people do. But this hate is a bad emotion? A negative emotion? You were told to get along with everyone by a teacher or your parents, and you're following that rule? But this idea says that the feeling of hate is actually an important feeling. When you feel, I don't like that person, it's actually related to your biological instincts. Being around that person will damage me, or I might be taken advantage of. It's your life's defense mechanism at work. So you've come to that feeling because you're biologically incompatible. In that case, you should avoid them as much as possible. At this time, sensitive people have really high antennas, so they think, I might not like them. But then, what do sensitive people do? They smile twice as much because they don't want to be disliked. Does that happen to anyone? There are people who do that. If they find out I don't like them, it'll be rude, so they send lots of emojis and stamps in their line replies. Thank you, it was fun. You don't have to do that. This idea says that if you get a bad feeling from someone, believe it. First impressions are often correct. And that feeling of, I don't like them, is an important feeling. So you don't have to hide in your good person shell anymore. It's okay to avoid them. You can do that. What do I, a non-sensitive person, do when I encounter someone I don't like? Basically, I emit an aura that says, don't talk to me. I can just have a simple, stern face. I'm sorry. Non-sensitive people are like that. They have a look that says, ew. Non-sensitive people can express that feeling. What's your problem? I hate you. But sensitive people think, I can't let them know I hate them. Hello, how are you? Are you having fun? If it's a standing party, they might even do that. At a standing party, if I see someone I don't like, I say, oh, hello, thank you, and then I go somewhere else. That's how I, a non-sensitive person, do it. How are you? Are you having fun? That cocktail looks good. That's a non-sensitive person's approach. And for sensitive people? And third, it's okay to check why the other person is in a bad mood. Sensitive people apparently can't check. They basically have a great ability to sense things, but there's also a possibility that they're wrong. So, if you think, oh, the boss seems to be in a really bad mood today, they're typing clack, clack, clack on the keyboard and tapping their foot. They're definitely in a bad mood. The most common thing is to think, it might be my fault. Sensitive people think about their past mistakes. Was my reply yesterday not good enough? Was it something I did? They're definitely mad at me. It's my fault. That's what sensitive people do. So, first, check. You seem irritated. Is everything okay? Oh, did you not like the coffee I made earlier? Did you not like my souvenir? Was there something wrong with the document I gave you earlier? Was my last presentation okay? And they say, oh, it was good. It was good. What's wrong? What's wrong? Well, I was just wondering if the coffee I made earlier wasn't good enough. No, it was good. Hey, why are you irritated? Oh, well, on the crowded train this morning, I got bumped into by a horrible person. That might be the reason. So, checking often reveals that it's not your fault. You have high antennas, but they're too high, and you sense too much and blame yourself. Releasing yourself from that spiral is a good thing. Sensitive people, it's hard, isn't it? Thank you for all your hard work every day. If they're in a bad mood, as I said earlier, I just say, why are you in a bad mood? Then they say, oh, because you look like you're in a bad mood. I'm not in a bad mood. A weird guy bumped into me on the crowded train. Oh, really? Then don't look like you're in a bad mood. Was I? That's the kind of thing a non-sensitive person can do. So, check. I was doing that. I was refusing, I was hating, I was checking. That's me. I'm sorry. Sensitive people, I really want to learn about people like you. And there's still more. You don't have to help people who seem to be in trouble. Wow. Like Mito Common or Superman, we think it's cool to help people. We've seen Anpan Man helping people, so we think we have to help. But this says you don't have to help. Why? Because sensitive people often help before they're even asked. You seem to be in trouble. Are you okay? Should I do it?